welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of May 25th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me today, only one sad little man.
Benjamin Daniel Lawless. Sad, little, man.
I mean,
I
don't know. All three of those things are wrong. You're a happy big boy
at all of them. Yeah, it's just here I am. I am what I am.
And you're a happy big boy.
As Popeye said, I am what I am.
Yeah, he loves them yams. Welcome to the podcast. You're welcome. This is gonna be a wild one, everyone, because Devon's not here to bring us down.
yeah. Poor you having to listen to Stephen and I, and believe me, we'll be talking a little bit about video games.
Oh, it's coming. Don't you worry about
It'll
that.
Happen.
Where do we even know where Devon is and what he's doing?
He said on the cast last week, he did say where he was, but I don't recall.
I don't remember.
Did we write a note about it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I do know that. So his birthday's in a couple days. Happy future birthday, Devon. He's the answer age, like I am, 42. That's a deep cut.
Yep.
Douglas
I
Adams
know
joke. Yeah, you know. So his birthday's in a couple days, which means that my anniversary is in a couple days. Because it's his birthday and the next day is my wedding anniversary. So that's coming up. This is just a busy time of year, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it a bit pre-pod, but man, it's like the end of the school year's coming. So they're like, hey, let's do all the things. Thanks, school. And then like birthdays and anniversaries. And then next weekend, Devon's going to visit us.
Right.
He's coming to us.
And I'm really hoping that I can sweep some of my responsibilities aside in order to really, I mean, like the evenings you've got me for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But
we're gonna
next
party
weekend's
hard.
got a lot going on.
You got like roller derby stuff. Is that happening?
Roller derby stuff. Yeah. Like there are a couple of different Pride in the Plaza / in the park things happening next weekend that are happening in conjunction with derby practice, and it's just
Stuff.
tabling.
Yeah. All the stuff.
And
did you say tabling?
Tabling. Yeah.
That's a verb now.
Well, I used to think that any noun could be a verb if you threw that object at somebody.
Okay.
Right?
That sounds correct to me.
Yeah. So if you're going basketballing, you're throwing a basketball at somebody. Like,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Evidently,
That's what balling is, I've heard.
Right. Yeah. But what a baller. Tabling meaning just, being present at the table and giving people information.
Right. So
That's
like
what I've heard.
The full story, if people aren't aware, there is the Pride in the Plaza. It's a thing that happens at a city near us where people get together and they go, hey, Pride. And everyone goes, yeah, Pride. But there's a lot of like booths set up to say like, hey, also check out this thing. And so you guys are going to man / woman / they them a table there to say like, hey, we're supporting you. Also, try roller derby.
Yeah.
Right?
Have your kids try roller derby. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a fun activity and we're accepting of all individuals and it's to have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. We're going to be combining with a local record shop. They're going to have like a DJ spinning right next to us. And so there's going to be lots of dancing.
The Traffic.
Yeah. Traffic Records.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. They're going to be down there too. So and then along with the adult roller derby team too. So
Wow.
it's going to be a big party right at the end of the block there.
That's on Saturday.
I think so.
Oh,
I think so.
You think so? All right.
You know, I'll pull up the calendar so that I can actually speak with
Alacrity.
With
is that a word?
Yeah.
What is alacrity?
Alacrity is a word. What does it mean? If
I'm
only I was not
look,
already trying to look up a different thing. In order.
Cheerful willingness and eagerness, speed or quickness.
Yeah.
Celerity, a cheerful willingness, a cheerful readiness, willingness, or promptitude. That's a good word. Promptitude, joyous activity, briskness, sprightliness. Oh, that's another good one. Alacrity.
Yeah. So we've got the Slow Pride will be in on Saturday, and then Trans Pride in the Park is the next day on June 1st, Sunday, June 1st.
Okay.
So yeah.
And you're setting up both days. In theory,
or at least someone in our family.
Someone is.
You know, and we're also doing our best to like tap a lot of other parents on the team on the shoulder and go,
sure.
Hey, we really like what hours will you be there in order to do this? Because this can't be us just alone, you know?
Right. Otherwise, it's going to turn into the lawless derby club. And like, can we join? And we're like, there's no rules.
If it's just me, I'm going to be really disappointed in myself. That's just a road to my own disappointment. So, you know.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
yeah.
This is a podcast about science and science fiction. But I don't know how much of those things we're going to talk about this week. Yesterday we watched The Wild Robot.
Dude, how did you like that?
I didn't like it as much as you did.
Okay.
So it just came out on Netflix. The kids have been waiting for it. Because my oldest, they read the book she said in 3rd grade, I think. And so she, knew about it. And so, adaptation, it's great. She got the younger sister involved. So they've been eagerly anticipating watching it. And because of your review, I was like, yeah, that's something I'd be interested in as well. So yesterday, the kids were just awful little monsters most of the day. And then it came into the later afternoon and we're like, all right, let's sit down and settle down and watch this movie. And we did. And, it's fine. It's a fine movie. There's nothing wrong with it. About halfway through, I started falling asleep though.
Yeah.
For me, and I 100% realized that this movie is not for me. This is for a younger audience, I feel. It just seemed like all of the things that were happening just seemed very telegraphed, very obvious. And that's fine because I have life experience. And so I get it. I'm like, okay. And then this thing's going to happen next. Yep. Then that thing happened next. And then, and then I bet this other thing's going to happen. And then that other thing happened. And so because of that, I was bored. However, that is definitely a Steven thing and not a reflection of the movie itself because the kids loved it. They had a fantastic. They had a fantastic time. They loved the whole thing from start to finish. And then like from a technical standpoint, like the voice acting was great, the animation was great, the pacing of the movie wasn't bad. I felt it moved along at a good clip.
Which it's interesting. It's interesting you say that because I feel like it's a deliberately slow movie. Like, in addition to me, it felt like I think I mentioned this. It felt very much like the Monk and Robot books in its pacing and in, perhaps it's because it's a story about parenthood. Spoilers. It's a spoiler. It's a story about parenthood.
Yeah.
Like, because you are a parent, you're like, oh, hey, I'm starting to see the pattern here.
Yeah.
And not all of it is surprising because
Right.
it's just the story of parenthood.
Yeah.
Like of a particular type of parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids are like, wow,
Well, they don't know what
I never
parenthood
seen
is.
things that way.
Yeah, exactly. For them, it was all brand new. And like, we don't do a lot of sci-fi with the kids because they're not into that. They're more into like fantasy type stuff, like mermaids and unicorns and fairies, and like they're in that. They've been in that realm, and not for any like lack of trying or sequestering them from sci-fi or anything. It's just every time it's introduced, they're like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then they move away from it again. And we're not going to push one way or the other. It's fine, whatever they're into. So I was a little bit like, when it started off, and it's like, you know, to me, I'm like, okay, robot, land on this island, doesn't know, like, it was a lot of like, you know, robot tropes, alive robot tropes, which they're not familiar with, but I am. And so I think that's part of the deal of like, oh, okay, like I get it. I see where this is going. I get the pace. Like, okay, you know, and that was it. Anyways, all that stuff was fine and good. It just, as a adult sci-fi enjoyer, it was a little bit like, okay, that's fine. I did at one point though, I was like, why does that fox sound so familiar? I was like, I gotta look this up, and then, you know, oh, Pedro Pascal, P Daddy. Pedro's the best. He's the best man.
He is.
He
great. Really is.
He go ahead.
He's really good. He's really great.
He's I think him being the poster child, and child's the wrong word, but for what masculinity should be, is 100% correct. I mean, there are things like, because he is from the outside very confident in who he is, how he interacts, who he protects, what he says. It's all appears to be 1,000% genuine in a positive way.
Oh, wow. I suppose this is one of those things where I'm lacking in that. I'm only familiar with his professional work, not
fair
social
enough.
media impact. So
he has a trans sister that he speaks out about, not like in over the top, but in protective ways, not only for her but for the community.
Right on.
And he is very open about these kinds of things. Anyways, that's like his personal life and stuff, which isn't like a huge deal, but it is, because he has now become this like very popular force in modern media. Right. He's got The Last of Us. He's got the, you know, Fantastic Four coming up. Game of Thrones, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like he's an immigrant. Like there are so many things about him and his life that show that America can be a very positive place if you look in the right areas. Which is just a bright, shiny light right now. Which is why I'm like, Pedro, 1,000%. Let's go. Anyways. Yeah. So he's the fox. I forget the fox's name in the movie. That is the robot's like companion throughout the majority of the movie, and so that's Fink. Yes, thank you.
Fink.
Anyways, Wild Robot. I would as an adult. I mean, it's like a good like 6 or 7 out of 10. As a kids movie, I would be 8 or 9 out of 10 for sure. Like that's a good movie for kids. It introduces like the concept of family or found family, survival, parenthood, growth, helping. Like there are so many like little lessons laced throughout the movie that aren't like they're not too in your face. They're there, and there's no pop songs, which I thought was great.
Right,
because that is
brilliant.
That is just so annoying.
we've had our time. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I recently finally watched DC League of Super Pets.
Oh, okay,
Um
sure.
and that was not great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
it was what it was. I thought it was like best thing about the film is throughout the entire film, I'm like, oh hey, they got Dwayne Johnson to play Crypto. That's cool. But wait, isn't he also playing Black Adam? And then Black Adam shows up at the end. And it's like, okay, great. Played by Dwayne Johnson as well.
Yeah. He's
It's like, oh, okay.
he was
Uh
trying real hard to take over the DCEU behind the
yeah.
scenes. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Do you think that if he would have succeeded, it would be, I mean, we're now at the cusp of a potentially really awesome DCEU,
DC,
like,
they're calling it something else now because the DCEU was like the previous movie franchise, and now they're
the Zack Snyder stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And now they're starting something fresh. The other guy's name, James Gunn. James Gunn is now in
Mhm.
charge, and it's all getting rebooted, which is fine. And it's looking like it's going in a positive way. Before, yes, it didn't work. It just didn't work. The pieces didn't fit. It was, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, except, well, it worked when it was just the auteur making the film, not when it was the overmade by corporate interests, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if and no better place can is there than the comparison between Justice League and the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
yeah. That's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's we're living in an interesting time because we are now fully aware of corporations and what they want and how they get it. They want money. How do they get it? By exploiting the things that we love to get their money. There's good ways to do that, and there's bad ways to do that. And we are very clearly seeing what those ways are.
Sometimes you're paying with your life.
Yeah. You can't get
There
those
you go,
minutes
patrons.
back. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's connection for the patrons there. Yeah, like sometimes you watch a movie and you go, man, I'm not getting those minutes back. Like those are gone forever. And sometimes you walk out of the movie theater going, wow, what an experience. This has enriched my life. And those things are we're in a downturn right now with that because anyways, it's all movies are all just like we're in an era of reboots, reimaginings. There's not a lot of original stuff coming out by the corporations, right?
Right.
And that's the key. They took over. They've always been there, but now they have very clearly taken over and turned it into a machine churning out what we like or what they think we like.
Let's
Oh, we're gonna break it down.
Let's step back.
Let's
step back for a sec because I think it's important to note that where you're giving a like bleak nihilistic view of all media now.
No, not all media from corporations. Go ahead.
Yeah, from corporations. Yeah, but like there's never part of the problem and part of the solution is all bundled together in the form of the distribution of mass media and how anybody with a camera, which most of us have cameras on our cell phones,
certainly
now we are capable and are making video content, right? And distributing it with the help of mega corporations, but that's not necessarily the only way of doing it. But like, it's, part of the reason why it sucks so bad is because of the fact that they're competing, like they're competing with people that could do that are doing low budget, high concept stuff, and so where does the old and the new meet? right?
Mm-hmm. So there is no like answer to this,
No.
but shining a light on what's happening, I think, helps. So if you want to find fresh, original storytelling, it's out there. There's no money to be made there yet. And because of that, it's not pushed in front of your face. Because if it's pushed in front of your face, there are ads attached to it to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pushed if the whoever they are deem it, worthy, because people are going to look at it, and that means ad revenue. Like that's the whole reason why streaming turned back into cable, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to have the ad. It has to be paid for. And they're going to get as much money as possible. And remember when like there was a golden time for like a couple of years when you paid a little bit of money and you got access to a whole bunch of stuff streaming wise, and everyone was happy. And then they went, wow, this is popular. Everyone's into this now. How can we make the money? And then you get, different tiers, and and then it's like, oh, well, here's ads. Oh, you don't want ads? Pay more money then. Either way, they're going to try to get their money, right? You're going to pay with your life, or you're going to pay with your life, right? You're either paying with sitting there watching the ad, and that's your life, or you're paying with money, which you got from working a job where you paid your life, little bits of your life to get that money and then transfer it into what you want later. It's the system is rigged. It's soapbox time. No, so like it is what it is. Look, find your joy where you can find it. If it's watching The Wild Robot, fantastic. If it's watching DC League of Super Pets and that's where you find your joy, do it up. If it's watching a hour and 45-minute long YouTube video about the history of Doom lore, then find your happiness there, because I found some there.
Oh, geez. All right. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I recently started playing Doom: The Dark Ages, and I've just played a little bit of it, but it was enough that I went like, okay, there was a lot of weird alien things talking about a lot of stuff I didn't understand. So typically nowadays, when a new game or franchise or thing happens, there's a YouTube video somewhere explaining the context for it. And so I like to hop in and just like, all right, give me an overview. Well, my algorithm fed me a video that was like, hey, all Doom lore from the original Doom up to Doom: The Dark Ages. And I was like, oh, that's what I want. Hour and 45 minutes. And I went, that's a tough sell. Let's see how it goes. And because with stuff like that, it depends on the presenter, like because you can have somebody with a terrible mic droning on and on about nonsense that you don't care about, or you can have a very entertaining breakdown of these things. Fortunately, it was an entertaining breakdown. And this dude went through the 90s era Dooms, the 2016 new era Doom, and then where Doom: The Dark Ages fits in there, which is kind of between the two of them. And I watched all of it, man. I watched the whole thing. It took a couple of different sessions, but I watched it all. And I'm going to save you an hour and 45 minutes. If you're into Doom and you're into Doom lore, great. But essentially it breaks down to Marine kills demons repeatedly. That's it.
Okay.
That's all it is, man. And if you want to go like a layer deeper, then it's like, okay, you've got portals to hell and back, and there's demons, and then now there's like alien races, and it's all about portals to different realities, and no matter what, the Doom Slayer gets in there and he kills stuff and then comes out again, and then rinse and repeat for the next game. And that's all it is. But like, that's all that series needs to be. Like, from the very beginning, it's like, you're a dude. Oh, look, demons, shoot them. And like, sometimes that's all you need for your entertainment. And like, I played Doom 2, I think, a bunch when I first got a PC way back in the late 90s. And I didn't finish it. I just did it until I had my fill. And that's kind of how I felt. Like the 2016 Doom, same thing. Played it a little bit. Was like, all right, I get it. Shoot the demons. That's fun. And now Doom: The Dark Ages. I didn't play the other one. Doom Immortal, I think. You shoot the demons, and there's metal music in the background, and they explode out health and armor. Like it's just a silly game, and it's great, and it's ridiculous. And you don't need an hour and 45-minute lore video unless you're like way into that stuff. You don't need it for context. Some of these games, like, you need the context to really get what's going on. You don't need it for Doom. Shoot the demons, you're fine.
I mean, you felt like you did, right? You jumped into the game and you're like, oh, there's something more here, and what am I missing?
Well, I'm curious. It's curiosity. I'm like, okay, is there something interesting and compelling behind the demon shooting? Not really. Like a little bit, but not really. Like watching those videos about like Mass Effect 3. That's different. We're not going to get into that though. Like I
gotta replay those now that I've got the Legendary Edition.
Yeah, man, do that. I mean, see,
really should.
The thing about replaying RPGs is it can get stale because you already know like what's going on. So recently, Bethesda did a Oblivion remaster, right? The Elder Scrolls game that came out before Skyrim, Oblivion, and it was a fantastic game. I played it when it came out for hours and hours and hours. And they recently did a remaster, which is actually, like, looking at it and what they did was pretty great. Like, they revamped the graphics and like did some quality of life stuff and redid some voice work. Like they put a lot of effort into it. And I was like, that is awesome. That's amazing. I am not going to play it though. I've already experienced that story. That story's already been told. I get why people want to go back to it. That's great. There's a theory or a rumor that they're going to do the same thing for Fallout 3. And that I haven't played in years and years and years. And that's a franchise I'm a lot closer to. So if they do that, I might go back and pop that in and play it, but I don't know if I'll play it through to completion, but I might play it just to check it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Video games, remakes.
Yeah. It's kind of an odd sort of thing. Like I did pop in the Legendary Edition for a little bit of time, and the,
the Legendary Edition of what?
Of Mass Effect.
Oh, okay. That's what
it kind of reminded me, like, oh, that's right. Just taking the defaults, because I was like, I just want to jump in and go play, and I just took all the defaults and was like, this isn't right.
This isn't what I remember. This isn't the character I played before. Whoops.
Yeah, and I think that how wonderful that there are some video game experiences where there's a canonized in my head version of things.
Yeah, that's the first time you play it. That's canon for you. Right. That's what happened. Yeah.
And when you have games that are so that are so wildly divergent, based on your choices, it can, for me, I have a little bit of trouble going back to them, because when I do start to diverge from the original, from the sacred timeline, it just feels wrong to me.
Yeah. Same thing, unless I go in with a purpose. Like, so with role-playing games in general, you can have a certain build. Like, I'm going to play this stealthy, or I'm going to play this as a jerk, or I'm going to play this with a big hammer because I've never done that before. You know, I'm going to play this taking this side versus that side. And in those instances, you can kind of like, timeline A, timeline B. Like, you can kind of get in there and see what else can happen. The trouble with that is a lot of the choices in role-playing games are not real choices. They appear to be if you make the choice once. If you make it twice, you go, oh, they were going to make me do this other thing no matter what I chose. Well, that's not really a choice. Right. And then that breaks it. You know, that's like goes, oh, well, that's not like the magic that you had the first time around has been dispelled, if you will. So, like, you know, play at your own risk, I guess. Oh, man. All right. That's enough of that nonsense. We're already half an hour in. I've been talking way too much. What's been going?
You would not shut up.
I won't. I will not.
Let's just go.
I refuse to shut up. Go ahead. You've been doing?
I've got some follow up. A few weeks ago, I was working through. I had an experience with lucid dreaming, and I looked into like, okay, well, how can I adjust things in my life in order to kind of create a more fertile ground where that sort of experience could happen more often.
Drugs.
And really?
I don't know. I was guessing.
Oh, okay.
You got real excited. Really? Which drugs?
Really? Yeah. You seem to know something, Stephen.
I know nothing.
I thought I was just going to be bringing questions to this, not getting answers.
Oh, I'll give you answers. They may not be correct, but they'll be answers.
Are you Chat GPT? Is this Steve GPT? Like, anyhow,
pay $5 a month to know more.
Yeah. One of the things that I have been doing, though, is whenever I wake up and I do recall a dream, I've been doing some dream journaling.
Fantastic.
And I have found that since I've started dream journaling, I have had more vivid dreams.
Okay.
Which is really cool.
Like you're priming yourself to remember, maybe?
Yeah. And sorry, my son was starting to play a game that I'm going to be talking about in the future now.
Oh.
he had the sound on. Did it come through the recording?
A little bit, but it wasn't too distracting.
Okay, cool. All right.
Kill the child.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
go play your video games, kid. You got this. Anyhow, more vivid dreams. And that's been really cool. Not quite lucid yet, but the idea that by writing these things down, I can train myself to recognize things that are dreamlike or not. Okay. Right.
Sure.
So that then in the future, when I'm presented with dreamlike things, it can help me, like it can bridge the gap there.
Good.
Yeah. So that's a thing that I've been trying, that I have been doing. Another probably surefire way for me to induce lucid dreaming is to go through, basically wake up and be awake for like 30 minutes or so, and then go back to sleep.
Oh,
and
okay.
Later in the night, because that is what ended up causing. That's what kicked me into the lucid dream in the first place. This was a night where the dog had woken me up.
Okay.
And it was I had to do a little bit of stuff, a little bit of activity. And then I went back to bed, and that's when it happened. It's been neat using my Apple Watch while I'm sleeping because it tracks my sleep patterns, and it can determine in the iOS health app, you can look at your sleep schedules, and you can see, hey, this period was when I was in REM. Here's a period I was in deep sleep. And I've actually been able to map when I have long enough REM sequences. I've been able to correlate that to particular dreams I've had.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's been a real wild and completely subjective experience that I've been going through lately, but it has been something I've been kind of geeking out about a bit, just every morning, like kind of the first thing, when I wake up, and if I recall my dreams, which is happening more and more lately, popping open Obsidian in a very low uh low light setting on my phone, in order just to like try to keep that sense of dreamlike state as much as possible. And it's been cool. Very cool.
How extensive are your notes about your journaling about your dreams? Is it like a sentence? Is it a paragraph? Is it a page?
It depends on the dream.
Okay.
This morning it was only like a very like 4 sentences long.
Okay.
But yesterday's dream was like a full page. So, and it looks like I've got 13 backlinks of in my Obsidian database of times I was bringing that I was dealing with stuff with dream journal and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. I've done it 13 times now.
Right on. I'm curious if the health behind lucid dreaming. So like we as like, science, the world of science, not us personally, but humanity, we know that dreaming is important, right? Our brains, we need to dream. And if you're not dreaming, you are not getting the correct amount of whatever dreams give us during the night. I don't know if it's rest, if it's rebooting, if it's whatever the technological medical terms are. And I'm curious if you found a way to lucid dream. If you're like, all right, if I do A, B, and C, I will lucid dream tonight. If you did that repeatedly, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I know that like not getting enough REM sleep is a bad thing. And
right.
So like, I don't know. I'm just, this is an open question. I don't know the answer. I don't know if humanity knows the answer. I'm just curious if manipulating these things is good or bad. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And it seems like, I guess it's that question of like, does the observation of a thing ruin the thing? Right. Like, because I am playing with my perceptions in these ways, is there a negative byproduct of it?
Correct. Yeah. That was going to be a good movie, and then I watched it.
Yeah, The Wild Robot was great, and you set your eyeballs on it,
and then I was like, oh, not for me. No, it's fine. One thing I did appreciate about The Wild Robot, real quick, is the evolution of the damage to the robot's chassis throughout the movie was consistent. There was a consistency there that I really appreciated. The scratching of the paint and the certain damage and the growths and all that stuff. They did a really good job keeping that consistent. And I know that's not an easy thing to do.
No, for sure not.
So that was good on the animators on that one, or whoever's in charge. All right, what else you got, man?
Well, so like in kind of back to knowing thyself, I got a what do you call it? A scholarship to the Waking Up app.
A scholarship?
Yeah. So like, okay. So the Waking Up app it's a meditation app.
Okay.
And but it's a little bit different than other meditation apps. I've used quite a few. Insight Timer is really great. But one of the things about with the Waking Up app, which is made by Sam Harris, is kind of the main philosopher dude behind it. The idea behind it is that it's a series of meditations and exercises in order to promote non-dualistic thinking.
What is dualistic thinking?
What is dualistic thinking? Okay, so let's just say dual thinking would be the idea that something is either / or, right?
Okay.
Like good or
bad,
bad,
black, white,
right?
This
wrong,
or that. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Yeah, like so like all of these polar opposites go on and on, but they're all laced with judgment and the
Ooh,
need for resolution
okay.
that will never come.
Right.
Right.
Because we live in the gray area.
Yeah, we live in the gray area. Maybe, like you get cut off by an inconsiderate driver in traffic.
Yeah.
How rude, right? Someone is on the phone with you and they're completely unreasonable. You're
Getting
your
interrupted in a
spouse,
podcast.
yeah, your spouse has their own way of navigating through life, like
Exactly.
all this stuff, right? Well, why doesn't everybody just see things my way, the way that they are?
Yeah, the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's dual thinking, that idea that you are separate from the way things are, that you and your experience is it's a me versus them, right? That perhaps and a large part of that is based on your fear of what you don't know, fear of what you don't understand, fear of what you can't control, like this feeling of lacking something.
Right.
And so,
and as we know, fear leads to anger.
Right. Yeah.
Anger leads to hate.
So the idea here is that non-dualistic thinking is a breaking down of those either or portions of it, that I mean, as Shakespeare said, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Okay.
So the idea here is, what if you can shift your perspective to see things as they are, as opposed to what you think they should be or what you fear they are or should be, right?
Got some real Buddhist notions in there, man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's heavily it's heavily analogous to Zen. It has, and so I've been going through the introductory course on it, which has been really fascinating. That, in addition to reading a book called On Having No Head by Douglas Harding. And it's been fascinating. I think that, like, the good news is I think I feel better about my life and about, things that are going on in my personal life. Like, it just a little bit more contentment. I don't know if happiness, if you take happiness as a lack of suffering, I feel like I'm suffering a little less, which is
good.
Is really nice. And just kind of a recognition of, like, well, here we are. What is even the experience that we have? When you hear something, though, that is an awareness that crops up in your perception, just the same way that your interior thoughts are just things that crop up in your perception. What does that then mean? And it's not answering the questions. It's like the recognition that the questions are there.
Right.
So anyhow, that's I lately, between a lot of medical bills and stuff, dealing with wrapping up the end of my cat's life and a little bit of what my dog's been going through, and a lot of other things that have been happening, car maintenance. And so I've been like, I really think that right now this would help me, but I don't really want to pay the subscription for it. Okay. And thankfully, you can request a scholarship for it. And so,
okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you requested a scholarship
and was granted a 6-month scholarship for it.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
What was the criteria for that? Do you know, or you just asked and they gave it?
You go to their site and they like there's a particular place on their site where it's like, hey, if you can't afford this right now, no judgment. We still want to make money here, but if you can't afford this right now, and you want to do this, click this link. And they're like, well, hey, how about if we gave you a little discount on it? Or, they're like, no. So it's like, okay, well, then send us an email, and we'll see what we can do. And within a couple of days, I was approved, and Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So, and it's been really if that is something that rings true for anybody, give it a shot. You can pick up his book, Waking Up by Sam Harris. But and that's really good. But one of the things that actually kind of got me into all this was that there was an interview, like a podcast interview between Dan Harris, who ran the 10% Happier app, and his you know, he and Sam Harris are not related. They just happen to have the same last name, but they had a nice little chat. And one of the things that really got me about it was Sam Harris. Um, his home was in the recent wildfires and down in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so like he and his family had evacuated, and it was like midnight, and he was taking a look, like his phone buzzed, so he picked it up, and he received some information that made him relatively certain that it was his house going up in flames right at that moment.
Ooh.
Like he and his family were away from it, but like he chose not really to wake his wife up at the time, because what would that serve?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, there was nothing to be done about it. But like in that moment, finding equanimity in this certainty that he had. Thankfully, it turned out that the information he received was inaccurate, so his house was not fine, but it remained standing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the idea of like, well, hey, what is it like? I can let that stuff go, right? And that felt like a superpower that I really wanted to tap into right now.
To not freak out about things you cannot change that may or may not be correct.
Yeah, the equanimity of it all, just being able to, like there was another interview I heard, which was the with someone who came into like prisons in order to like lead some like Buddhist like meditation,
Mm-hmm.
within the prison systems. And he had said that like a lot of what prisoners are looking for, inmates are looking for, is the ability to be unmessable with, uneffable with.
Okay, sure.
But the basic idea is that like when someone says something about you, that if you respond to that, that's an agreement that you've made with them. You're lending them like all that. But if you know yourself, then they could say ridiculous and terrible things about you or about your family or whatever.
Yeah.
And why would you need to respond? You know what the truth is.
Sounds like confidence issues.
Right? Yeah. But like, and isn't a lot of violence confidence issues?
I think maybe you're right.
maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but at the same point, like that idea, like seeing these things as being able to like shift your perception, for your benefit and for the benefit of all living beings. Cause it doesn't just like your impact on the world doesn't just stop with you. It's, it goes to your family, it goes to your friends, it goes to the people in the community. It goes to the inconsiderate or considerate drivers that are on that share this term of traffic with you when you're in it. Yeah. So that's some of the stuff I've been scratching at lately.
Wow. Okay. Scratch that itch, sir. One of so I have not had a lot of free time lately. And we talked about this pre-pod a little bit. It's a busy time of year. One of the things that I have been doing, and it's a bit meditative in a way, and that's forging, doing my blacksmithing stuff.
Yeah.
So I've talked about this before. I've got that all set up. It's and I spent about roughly $50 on raw iron, steel, what do they call it? Just stock, metal stock. So now I've got a whole bunch of metal waiting to be forged. And I've got a couple projects lined up, and I've been working on them. But what I've found is when I'm out there, when you put the metal into the forge, it takes some time to get up to forging temperature.
Okay.
And not too much time, not too little time, just enough to sit quietly and think, which is nice because I don't get a lot of chances to just sit quietly and think, right? If there's too much time ahead of you, well, now we need to fill it with an activity. And that could, a positive activity, like, oh, I got this chore I got to do, that kind of stuff. Or you have too little time and it's like, well, I can't do a big activity. I can't do a small activity. I have enough time. I can look at an app for a minute or two and then I need to, move on. But putting that metal in the fire is just enough time to quietly sit. And I wouldn't call it meditating exactly, but it is enough time to kind of pause, take a look around, take a couple deep breaths, think about what I'm doing, think about what I have planned later, be in the moment, check the metal, and then, okay, now it's time to get back to work, which has been nice. It's part of the process, and I've been enjoying that.
The state of flow,
and
right?
Like and the other day I'm working on this project. I'm making a pair of tongs for myself.
Right on.
Which that's a big part of blacksmithing is making your own tools to then be able to give yourself the ability to make other things. The tongs that I have now, I bought online and they work okay, but I need some specialized tongs for holding a certain size and shape of stock, which the tongs that I have is not good at. So I was like, all right, I watched some YouTube videos. I took some notes. I have a plan of action, and it's a lot of metal to shape and change. It's 3/4 inch stock. If you think of a square bar, 3/4 inches on each side. And I think the piece that I'm working on started off at about 14 inches long. That's a big chunk of metal, and that takes a lot to work with. And then when I was done for the day, I looked at my hand and counted 7 blisters on my hammer hand. And as of this recording, one of them tore open and is very painful. 2 of them that I thought were going to tear open didn't, and have now started turning into calluses, which is nice. And the other ones were small enough that they're kind of starting to fade away now. But
yikes!
Boy, oh boy, was that a bit of a not really an eye opener. It was more of like what's a good term for this? Like a barrier to commitment. Like I know that I want to keep forging, and I know that means more blisters, more pain. And I also know that if I keep up with it and enough time passes, that will go away. Eventually I will get calluses. Eventually this stuff won't bother my hand as much as it does now. Am I still going to commit to this? And I'm like, yes, I still want this. So now I'm like, okay, next time I go out there, it's going to get painful, but I'm committed. It's an interesting place to be. Hey, look at that. We're almost an hour in. Let's
take a little break.
Let's take a little break. We're going to recoup. We're going to check our blisters. We're going to take naps and talk about dreams and write down our dreams. And when we come back, we'll do a little bit of future or now, and just kind of wander with our conversation. It's one of those days. We weave, we come in and out. We're not doing book club this week. We'll talk about that when we come back on the other end. But just so the listener's aware, you've got more time if you haven't finished the story yet. So we'll be right back. Hey, you. Yeah, you sitting there listening to this for free, like some kind of podcast freeloader. Look, I'm not saying you owe us, but if you enjoy our deep dives into AI, space, and comic book mayhem, maybe toss a coin to your podcasters. Join our Patreon, get into our Discord, grab some exclusive content, and finally achieve that deep, satisfying sense of superiority over your non-Patreon listeners. Just imagine their sad, uninformed little faces. Patreon.com/Science Faction Podcast, because knowledge is power, and power is best hoarded behind a paywall. And we're back.
Ayo.
Oh, man, it seems like it's been forever.
Right. And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. Thanks. And, but looks like we don't have any book club this week because we don't have a Devon here.
No Devon. Nope.
No Devon. So since he chose this one, I kind of felt like it would be a good idea for us to talk about with him. But next week, or whenever Devon is back, who knows when that will be.
Well,
Ted Chiang's.
Real quick. Next week, he's going to be here. So next week might be another live recording.
Right.
We haven't really talked about that, but it might be. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Yeah. Fun. Man, next weekend's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild. It's a wild time.
Too much. So, yeah, just as we read The Evolution of Human Science by Ted Chiang last week, this next time that we meet and talk about book club, we will be reading or discussing Liking What You See, a documentary, which is another story of Ted Chiang's from his collection, Stories of Your Life and Others.
Which, if you have a Audible subscription, it's available to you. Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah,
figure it out.
I got the ebook. It was delightful. Spoiler alert. I like this one.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
it was really interesting, for sure.
Yeah,
so
a nice. It's a long read.
It is.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
It was a quick long read. So
what? That doesn't.
It
sounds like you're in a gray area again, Ben.
It was one of those things where because I had it on my phone and every once in a while I was able to pick it up and read a little bit more. It's broken up into really discrete chunks.
That's right.
Just by the nature of it. So it was really, really easy for me to set it down, pick it back up, and not be lost. Because,
for sure.
So,
all right. Well, we will talk about that more next week, I hope. In the time being, seeing as how this episode's a little wacky, a little weird, we're doing our Future or Now.
Yeah.
Which, according to these notes, only you have something to talk about. So let's see what it is.
Let's talk about video games.
Woohoo!
Well, I'm going to file this one under Space to Bark.
Woof.
Woof.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce everybody to a little game on Itch.io called Dogman 95, which is by Computer James.
Okay.
And it is a very short first-person dungeon adventure. It'll probably take you about 3 to 5 minutes to get through it.
Okay. All right. I'm clicking the link that will also be in our show notes.
Yeah, and you can run the game, and you use your mouse and WASD to walk and look around, and then you press space to bark. And you are Dogman 95. You've grown up hearing tales of your brother's heroic adventures in the labyrinth. Illustrious warriors all, your training would have to be enough. Dog Maiden, guide us.
Wow.
And it is really weird.
Okay.
But a neat little dungeon, first person dungeon crawling game, where you play as a dog with a sword. And whenever you are interacting with the world, you are barking at the world by spacebar. What
a fun look. I'm not playing it because it'll mess with the audio, but it looks like a fun little experience. It says the features of it say a short 3-minute first-person dungeon adventure.
With
And
shunky dog drawings.
yeah, what's shonky?
I mean,
it looks like little like MS Paint drawings almost.
Yeah, they're just
Combat,
and there's
puzzle,
combat,
Dogman.
puzzle, and Dogman.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it was really, really something else. I think I found out about it from gosh, what is there? There's like a now I'm looking back through my through, I think it was Web Curios. Yeah, that's what it was. webcurios.co.uk. I'll pop in the link to it, and basically said, this is a short, we're talking 3 minutes or so here, promise, first person adventure about a dog in a dungeon. It is very shonky and hand drawn and perfectly charming, and I love it immoderately. Honestly, this is really, really fun, and you will adore it, I promise. And I played it, and I agree. It's really, really fun, and you will love it, I promise.
So this is, I think, a really good example of what we were talking about earlier, where there is good, fun, creative things out there that are not being promoted by corporations.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is not making anybody any money on purpose. Seeing as how it's through itch.io, usually there's a way to donate money to the creators. I don't see that here. I'm not clicking through properly though, so maybe I don't see it. But typically that's a lot of the things you find on itch.io is like, here's a thing, you can pay for it, or you can just have it. And there have been times where I've encountered something where I'm like, this is cool, I want to give a couple dollars, but then I don't. Because maybe it was not as cool as I originally thought. But I've also, like, there are some things that are gated behind money, where it's like, here's a thing, $5, and I'm like, this thing, what it promises, like, that looks worth $10, so I'll give $5, and I've done that. There is so much, like, I don't want to put a label on it, but like micro content. Perhaps, like,
I mean, this is the indie video game, right? Like, it is, in much the same way that there's indie other things.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those, like, there are no restrictions put on it. This was not something where someone was like, hey, I got a great idea. And then the corporation went, that's great. It needs to be this long. It needs to be this big. It needs to, here's a checklist that you have to make sure to check off all these things. And then now it'll make money for us and for you. This is, hey, I got this idea. They say to to nothing. I'm going to make it. They say to nothing. And they put it on the internet. And then people see it and go, this is awesome. What a cool little thing. This is exactly as long as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right?
It, again, like 3 to 5 minutes. And I only say 5 minutes because I found a secret ending.
Of course you did. And
the game. Yeah, games tell you to go right, and I usually go left first, and that's how it.
You have to check behind the waterfall. If you're not checking behind the waterfall, what are you doing with your life?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so disappointing nowadays in a game where I check behind the waterfall and there's nothing there. What was I playing? There was a new first person RPG out, and I got it via my Xbox subscription. I'm Avowed. Mm-hmm. So I was playing a little bit of Avowed, and the intro, there's like, it's one of those big sprawling RPGs, which means the beginning of it is a small microcosm of what you're going to be getting into later, where they have to teach you, here's how to traverse, here's how to do combat, here's how to interact with things. It's the tutorial area, right? There were several waterfalls. And the first many of them were nothing. And then I found one that had everything. So always don't be deterred. Always check behind the waterfall.
Yeah.
Because game developers love to hide things. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
Anyways.
there was a point in this game where I thought I was stuck in the 5 minutes that I was playing, and I would recommend just observe things.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, like whoa, yeah. So
There, I mean,
I'll leave that to.
Think about this, and we're almost
Yeah.
done here. Video games used to have manuals.
Yeah.
They don't anymore.
Nope.
So, how do you learn how to play a game? The game either has to tell you how to play it, right, tutorial level, or it doesn't tell you how to play it and you have to figure it out. And both are valid, but sometimes taking the time to figure it out, while it may be longer, it may be more taxing on your little brain, you may just feel more fulfilled afterwards. Sometimes you got to stop. Sometimes you have to look around. Sometimes not being told and discovering it for yourself is more fulfilling.
Yep.
There you go. That's
That's
your lesson for this week.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoy this little game. It's silly and irreverent, but
How can do you play it in browser?
yeah, I played it in browser. You can download it on Windows, or you can use your Proton compatibility layer if you're on Linux. But
If
can
you
just play it in
have
browser.
listener, if you
I played on Mac through the browser.
if you have a Proton compatibility layer, you email us immediately,
I will be your best friend.
and Ben will
Steven,
love you
you have
forever.
You have a Proton compatibility layer.
Just because you have one doesn't mean you know what it is.
Yes, I mean, much like a lot of. I mean, how do you know what your tibia is? You have one of those.
My tibia and my fibula. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah.
I was really good at naming bones. That was a top tier skill that I had in high school, was bone naming. Oh man, I was so good at it. Scapula, are you kidding me? Metatarsals, come on. I know all of them.
Dude. That's metatarsals. That would be a good band name.
Metatarsals?
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, here's the problem with that. On the surface, it sounds good. However, if you put the word meta into anything, the people consuming what you're putting out now have a threshold for what they're expecting of you. Just like if you're going to watch a Deadpool movie, if he doesn't look at the screen and say something snarky, you're like, well, why is this even a Deadpool movie?
So you're saying that they're, you can't just be tarsals. If you're going to be metatarsals, you got to go the full bit. You
have to commit to the bit. If your ska band is called the Metatarsals, you got to be dressed in bones. You've got to every song has to have something to do with toes. You got to have a lot of toe puns. It's you're adding a whole layer of work that may be unnecessary. But if that's what you're into, if that's where your jam is, if that's where your groove is, if that's what makes you feel alive, you do it. Do you have any last words for us, Ben?
Yeah. Which birthday only lasts for 1 minute? Your 62nd birthday.
Good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.